They called it a peacekeeping operation. Armored vehicles rolled in painted white, marked with symbols of hope. But beneath that paint, the same steel that once tore through enemy lines. The world believed peace was arriving, but the skies told another story. Surveillance drones hovered round the clock, scanning every shadow, every whisper. It wasn't diplomacy that came first. It was data. Every satellite pass, every heat signature, every rebel movement was logged, tagged, and cross-checked with precision-guided algorithms. Behind closed doors, military contracts expanded. Nations pledged aid, but what arrived were convoys of ammunition, not medicine. And on the ground, the so-called peacekeepers found themselves outnumbered, outgunned, and outmaneuvered, not by insurgents, but by the chaos engineered from above. Peace was just a mask. The real mission: control, silence, surveillance, a balance of fear maintained through cutting-edge warfare disguised as humanitarian aid. As the world watched broadcasts of soldiers handing out food, defense industries unveiled a new arsenal. AI-driven combat drones capable of autonomous strikes patrolled no-fly zones. Tanks upgraded with adaptive camouflage, their armor shifting hues like chameleons under threat. And overhead, hypersonic jets streaked across forbidden borders faster than radar could lock on. These weren't peacekeeping tools, they were prototypes. The region became a lab of war tech, where human lives tested the precision of machines. Every explosion was logged for analysis. Every counterstrike became data for the next algorithmic upgrade, and still the world called it peace. The irony bled through every report. The more control they achieved, the more instability followed. People vanished in operations, communication lines went dark, and foreign advisors suddenly withdrew. The silence wasn't peace, it was censorship. Every update from the ground was filtered, rewritten, erased. Peacekeeping had become performance art, while the real story unfolded in encrypted frequencies and classified briefings. Inside the operation, soldiers began to whisper. Orders changed mid-mission. Targets appeared on screens that no one could identify. Friendly fire incidents spiked. And yet, reports vanished before they reached the media. The men and women on the ground realized they weren't just fighting insurgents, they were fighting confusion itself. Whistleblowers tried to speak, but silence was enforced. Some were transferred, others disappeared. Documents leaked, revealing that the mission's funding was tied to arms manufacturers testing new combat AI under field conditions. Even humanitarian drones were equipped with hidden sensors for intelligence collection. And still, officials smiled for cameras, calling it a necessary step toward peace. But peace never stood a chance. The very mission meant to protect civilians became a theater of betrayal, orchestrated by those who saw war as business and peace as bad economics. The soldiers didn't fail. The system did. By design, the so-called zone of stabilization turned into a flashpoint of escalation. New contracts flowed in from global powers. Each one promised defensive cooperation, but what arrived were next-gen drones, armored mechs, and automated turrets. Even weather monitoring satellites began carrying surveillance payloads. Neighboring countries watched closely, then joined the race. Within months, the skies were crowded with stealth bombers and electronic warfare units jamming entire regions. Communication networks flickered out, replaced by ghost frequencies, a new kind of digital fog of war. And amid all this chaos, civilians were trapped in between, forced to choose between silence and survival. Aid workers withdrew, journalists were banned. The peacekeeping mission had evolved into a silent, global competition where the first to dominate the electromagnetic spectrum would control not just the war, but the narrative. It wasn't about saving lives anymore. It was about who controlled the story. The deeper you look, the clearer it becomes peace was never profitable. War, however, funds everything, from research labs to political campaigns. Those who questioned the mission were labeled misinformed. Meanwhile, cyber warfare units replaced diplomats. Autonomous vehicles replaced convoys. Synthetic soldiers, part human, part algorithm, began appearing in experimental battalions. The world's attention drifted elsewhere, but the machines didn't stop. Every silent strike, every classified test, every lost town became another data point in an ever-expanding war economy. And when the world finally asked what went wrong, the answer was simple: nothing went wrong. It went exactly as planned. Peace wasn't lost by accident. It was sacrificed, traded away for control, for dominance, for the illusion of order. The silence wasn't failure, it was the price of power. Even now, the mission continues, hidden behind headlines, buried under bureaucratic language, stabilization efforts, strategic support. But the truth is raw, the battlefield has evolved, and so has the definition of peace. In the command centers, glowing with digital maps and predictive AI, generals talk about minimizing chaos. Yet on the ground, chaos is all that remains. Jets roar over ghost towns. Automated defense grids hum in the silence. And somewhere in the rubble, a soldier stares at a flag that no longer means what it once did. Because peace, real peace, isn't built with drones or data. It's built with trust. And that trust has been shattered beyond repair. The mission betrayed its own name. What started as hope became a high-tech tragedy, a story written not in ink, but in smoke, fire, and silence.